what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the type of hinge that's on this cabinet. So the hinge that's on this cabinet is a soft close hinge, and it's a hinge that goes on the inside of the frame. So that means it's a hinge that's not exposed on the outside, and we'll show that in a minute. But basically this hinge allows 3 adjustments. So there's a screw right out here, okay, and you always want to use a regular screwdriver, a Phillips head. You do not want to use a screw gun. You don't want to use a screw gun because what's going to happen is you're going to end up stripping out the screws. This is for fine tuning. So this right here, when I do this one, if I move it back and forth, what it does is it moves this door in and out this way, okay? If I move it, if I go to this screw right here, okay, it moves the door in and out this way going to the frame. So again, this one over here was in and out this way, okay? This one over here, in and out going this way. Then there's another adjustment screw that allows me to go up and down, okay? This 4th screw on the inside here is not an adjustment screw. You can clearly see what it's screwing into. That is your mounting screw into your frame. You do not want to mess with that screw, okay? That screw, you want to make sure it's tight, okay? But hand tight. You don't need to over tighten it. You want to make sure it's tight before you start doing all of your adjustments, because if that screw's loose, all these fine adjustments you're doing, you're just going to have to redo them because you didn't have a solid base right there. This gray piece right here, okay, has a piece sticking out of it. That is a piston, okay? That piston allows this hinge to be a soft close hinge. So if you go to shut the door and you go to do it fast, what's going to happen is the door will pull in on its own so it doesn't slam. We also have our bumpers out here to also prevent that from banging into here. These hinge adjustments are important because when a cabinet goes up, sometimes a cabinet could be a little bit racked. That could be the way that it's built. Racked means that it's slightly out of square. You could be putting it up in an area where you've had to make some adjustments. So what ultimately happens is, and as we shut these doors, okay, you will see on the outside, like I've talked about the hinge, that is a concealed hinge. We don't see a big knuckle out here like you would see on a large door that you're going in and out of where you have that knuckle. But what you have right now is, if you look at this cabinet right here, my gap that I have in between here is good, but you can see that this door is slightly proud or sticking out past this door. So that would mean that I would have to go open my door, go to my adjustment hinge here that gives me that in out right here, and I'm gonna try moving that in and see what that does, okay? So the natural thing is I'm moving that in and I'm not getting what I wanted. But this is the thing about adjustments, okay? If it's out here, that's not the hinge I'm adjusting. This is the one I have to adjust. Because if I move this piece out, it's gonna wanna push the top back in. So if I come down here and I try moving it out, right? So I move that out further. I can try moving that in further. I might be good moving it out, but let's move them both out. If I move them both out, okay, I can see I'm still sticking out a little bit there, all right? And I could sit here and I could play with this all day trying to get it to adjust. I can move this part in and out over here, okay? And that's the point of, as you're adjusting these, you can play with it to get an idea how these go. The biggest problem that I'll have is, no matter how many adjustments I make on this right now, the cabinet's not mounted to a wall, so it's still gonna naturally kind of rack a little bit. If it's racking a little bit, the adjustments won't matter. I have to have this mounted first before I make my adjustments. You always want to make sure that your cabinets are installed, you have everything set, and one of the final things that you do is you come around and you make these fine-tuned adjustments when everything is secure, so that way you know that's kind of where it's going to stay. In every single cabinet, you want to make sure that you get an even gap going all the way down here. Okay, you want to get it within 1/8 of an inch. Okay, you don't want too big of a gap, but you don't want it where it's tight, because you have to remember at the end of the day, these are hardwood cabinet doors, or even if they're MDF doors that are painted or anything like that, if it's wood, it moves. So with the humidity in the air, or you take away the humidity, this door is going to expand and contract, and you need to be able to give it enough room to do that. Otherwise, if it's too tight right here, the doors are going to buckle when they pull in. And that is where all these fine adjustment screws come into play. So remember, in and out this way on this one, we go in here. This one right here is in and out this way. And then we go up top here. This one takes me up and down. So I can do 3 fine-tuned adjustments on this, and that still doesn't count for the 4th ultimately that you can do, right? Which is more of a fixed adjustment, is you go to that one screw that I told you not to touch, that's the mounting screw, and if your doors were off that much, you can readjust it and be able to get it where both your doors are the same by mounting it to a different hole. But that is like the last thing that you want to do. You really want to try to make sure that you get these screws adjusted correctly first.